Sir, I'm Lieutenant Colonel Udit Chaturvedi, presently pursuing my master's in communication engineering. Sir, I would request the Honorable Minister to kindly enlighten us with respect to the changing dynamics in Indian subcontinent, especially our immediate neighbors, that is Sri Lanka and Nepal. How do we envisage countering the Chinese exploitation of this scenario, sir?
You know, again, it's a competitive world, but it's also a world where we need to be confident of ourselves. When I look at our neighbors, if you take history, geography, sociology, any human indicator you want to use, actually have so much in common with us. Now, having something in common with your neighbor is not necessarily a plus. You know, there are also some insecurities which can come with it, which is natural. My sense is our best policy towards the neighborhood, and we actually have thought about it at great length, and we even have a name for it. It's called Neighborhood First. It is a policy which should very clearly recognize to ourselves, we are the biggest country by far. We are the only country with whom each one of our neighbors is connected. You know, very few of our neighbors, Bangladesh and Myanmar have a common border, but by and large, if you see, the bulk of our neighbors only have a border with us as opposed to another neighbor. They are far behind us in the development curve, many of them. Even if their per capita income may be higher than ours in some cases like Sri Lanka, in terms of capabilities, there are many things they don't have. So we need to make up our minds. Do we want a larger, prosperous, secure, participative neighborhood? So it's like you in the street where you live. You know, do you want everybody else on that street to also have a reasonably good life? Maybe you're paying the electricity bill, maybe you're building the road, maybe you're paying for the chowkidar at the end of the street. But do you really want, are you prepared to go the extra mile so that the entire neighborhood is actually in a good place? We could have a different approach, and at times we've had, which is we get into a kind of a dynamic with a neighbor. You know, they do something which we don't like, and you know, we kind of reciprocate. I think we have today, especially Prime Minister Modi's government, we are very clear that we have to be generous, we have to be non-reciprocal. There can be problems, we must be big enough to think beyond that, work beyond that. It will not always be problem-free, we have to accept that also. But finally, we must be the larger sort of lifting tide for the entire neighborhood. You also put it in terms of, you know, how does it work vis-a-vis China? Look, the world's a very competitive place. You know, that's why I actually compared diplomacy and sport. I mean, don't ever expect a competitor to give you a loose ball, an easy ride. They won't do that. That's not, you know, that's not how they think. So, but I'm not doing it because I have competition. I'm doing it because it's in my interest. If I do what is good for me, actually, in a sense, a lot of my competitive problems get taken care of. And this morning, when we were talking about this Nadi conference, you have to just understand the enormity of the change which is taking place around all of you right now. That links with Bangladesh, which were cut off in 1965, road links, rail links are being restored. Inland waterways are coming in. We are working how to access their ports. There there's a power supply. We supply them more than 1,000 megawatts of electricity. There's a fuel supply we are working on. It's not just Bangladesh. Something of a lesser scale is happening with Myanmar. It is happening with Bhutan as well, and with Nepal. And sometimes it doesn't always have to be outward. I mean, we are very big importers of hydel power from Bhutan. And in this day and age when people are moving away from fossil fuel, that is something which is a very, very big plus. So I would say, politics is about calculation, but really smart politicians don't do just tactical calculations. They sometimes give in order to get. And generosity is not just you feel good here, it's also in many ways something which needs to be thought up there.